Okay. All right. It started. Well, welcome everybody. I'm glad you could join us. We usually have our meeting in the fall, but I thought it'd be a good time to have our meeting a bit sooner this year, and maybe even a second meeting in the fall. I had some concerns and thought it would be wise to meet. Uh, just thinking of all the events that we've had recently in Gates Mills, some of the recent burglaries and such. I wanted to be proactive and get the committee together so we could talk about it, see if there were any other ideas for prevention. I know uh, Chief Greg has done a lot with community interaction and some of the newer things that we've added. And so we'll be talking about those today. So I'm glad we could all get together and have this meeting. So we'll start with Greg. If you want to start, you want to go just down your agenda.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Larry. Tom, do you want to go ahead? Do you have a copy of call the roll here just for the record?
Oh, sure.
I see Ed just joined us too.
Yes.
Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah.
So we've got Larry Frankel, Mike Pinto, Doug Horner, Hadley Klein, Karen Long, Ed Welsh, Greg Minicello, Dave Biggert, and Tom Robinson. The only ones we don't have are Paul Booyans and Scott Broom.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. I think everybody should have received the agenda. I'm not sure if you have it in front of you or not. So there's four items on there. We'll just take it right from the top. So number one kind of dovetails into Councilman Frankel. So you may have noticed, you may not have, I'm not sure, but if you read my pink sheet column, I kind of addressed a little bit of the cameras. So these are the flock safety cameras or license plate reader / cameras. We have 5 of them in town right now, and primarily they're sprinkled around Gates Mills Boulevard. Well, to be exact, we have 2 eastbound on Gates Mills Boulevard, 1 westbound on Gates Mills Boulevard, 1 on Old Mill, and 1 on West Hill Drive North. So we really wanted to focus on the west end of the village, because when we have seen, crime take place and we need, we need some help with that. Usually, at least from our, from looking back at our cases and whatnot, and, neighboring communities and whatnot. So we felt that, we wanted to focus on the west end, the main thoroughfares around out of town. So that's why we went ahead and deployed those cameras where they're at. But I do want to mention, we do have this in motion. We're going to be moving the second camera eastbound on Gates Mills Boulevard to northbound on Som Center. And the reason why we're going to go ahead and do that is because a lot of the other communities, Hunting Valley, Mayfield Heights, Pepper Pike, we all have the same vendor, same camera system. So we're strategically deploying it there to piggyback off where theirs are at over there. So it helps everybody out. So the one on Gates Mills Boulevard, the second one, there's some value to us, but we think it's going to provide more bang for the buck, because there's nothing going northbound at all. No camera, license plate reader northbound from Hunting Valley's Fairmount Boulevard north, all the way into Mayfield Heights down to Ridgeberry. So we felt that it was going to be a better idea to monitor that circle right there, by the Som Circle there is what we like to call it, by the gas station, that whole area there, and then northbound all the way to Mayfield Road. So we felt, that was probably going to be a good move for us. And they're going to go ahead and get that done for us here in the next couple of weeks. So we just shored that up last week. So that'll take place here soon enough.
Great.
So we can
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
So that our committee knows that the cameras were provided to us by an anonymous donor, a Gates Mills resident, donated the funds to provide the cameras for us. So I just wanted to mention that, because that was really a great thing. And, we're just lucky to have people in our community that do things like that. So everyone should know that.
Yeah, that's a good point by Larry. The resident's very tech savvy, and he was very supportive of the village and law enforcement. So we were certainly grateful for that donation. But just to be clear, if you're not that familiar with these cameras, they're not live feed cameras. Nobody's sitting there watching them at all times. we're primarily using it as an after criminal activity investigatory tool. We have to go back and we have to look for some vehicles. That's what we're talking about here. There are some live features on it. Say there was a stolen car that comes through town, something of that nature, or there's an Amber Alert, that vehicle's tied to a missing person, missing child, things like that. The officers who are on patrol will go ahead and get that immediate notification. So we'll have that. And then after that, primarily is just used as an investigatory tool. We'll get a lot of calls, suspicious automobiles, things like that. You don't get a license plate, or you have to have color. You can set those parameters in there. We can actually search for a vehicle based on color and time. So we've used it. We've used all the cameras thus far, a couple different times. So, once again, it'll be interesting to measure, because on one hand, you only want to, if you're not using it that much, that's probably a good thing, right? But hopefully it'll be a nice benefit for us. We also put some signs up. You may have noticed. They're not everywhere, these cameras, but some side streets, we put that the area is covered 24/7 by surveillance. So we're trying to deter some people that way too. Maybe you have people casing places out, driving up and down streets, which I think that does happen from time to time. So maybe they'll see these signs and they'll go somewhere else. Who can say? So those are kind of sprinkled around town too. So if you want to see what they look like and you haven't seen them, like I said, just kind of drive around Gates Mills Boulevard and you'll see them. They're white. They're going to be painted black. We have that. They'll blend in more. So it's been a pretty good tool for us. Any questions on these cameras? Okay, and this is an important point because I've been asked this. So sometimes people are going to have issues with privacy. Well, we're not. It's really snapping a picture of your vehicle and your license plate. We don't know who's driving that car. Our officers don't know that. So it's like a two-pronged approach. So once we identify the vehicle, then we have to take that further step to actually run it through the nationwide system. So, and all the data gets purged after 30 days. So just because a vehicle is driving by one of these cameras doesn't mean we necessarily know who the driver is. If we want to find out, we have to take that extra step. So I think that's a pretty important point. Okay, moving on to number 2. I'm trying not to overreact, but this did come up. Somebody had mentioned it to me. I think, for those of you who are paying attention, there was that tragic situation that happened with that female police officer it wasn't Minneapolis, but it was a suburb of Minneapolis or Minnesota. And it was an unfortunate situation. They went to arrest somebody, struggle ensued, and the officer inadvertently took out her firearm when she thought it was her taser, and tragic outcome. So, we got to thinking about this. So currently our police officers, everybody's trained, and, certainly we do updated training at least a couple times a year, and all of our tasers are black. And I think what happened there was, and, I'm certainly not, criticizing, or that's not my goal here, but, they make the yellow tasers and they feel a little bit different. They're a little bit bigger. So we've been talking about transitioning over from black to yellow, just as another added safety feature, if you will. So the tasers that we currently have, they're about 7 or 8 years old. The shelf life's about 10. It probably costs about, and we looked into this, if we did something now with it, and I don't want to overreact to it necessarily, but it'd be about $4,000 in all-in costs. If we waited until the expiration, if you will, of these tasers, then, the cost will probably go up. So it's just, food for thought right now. I think, I think we're just, still under consideration for it. It's the only time I've ever heard of something like that happening. It's very unfortunate. It's very tragic. But, I also think anything that we can do to, protect the officers and protect the public, we want to go ahead and take a look at that. So, that's kind of where that's at right now. Not sure if anybody wanted to comment on that.
Chief, is there a potential interim step? I'm sorry. Is there interim step, yellow tape around the end of the barrel, anything? I mean, is there any other way to maybe delineate that? Temporary? I don't know.
With our current ones you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if we can modify that. I really don't know. Didn't really look into that, but it's something that, I could look into, try to buy some time, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's a
You're not-
possibility though.
Good point. I think Karen had a question.
Yeah, I is just curious, actually. Does every police officer in the nation carry both a taser and a gun? Or is it,
Well, that's going to be department specific, of course.
okay,
I would say, I guess I should answer it this way. I only know what I know. And that is, in this area, the answer to that question is yes, that everybody has a taser. But, I'm sure there's some that, some small departments, real small, that don't have tasers and whatnot.
but
They may
it's
have,
now pretty prevalent that
it's
every,
pretty universal, yes.
okay,
And, it actually looks worse, like when you hear 50,000 volts, it looks worse, than it sounds. But it incapacitates somebody for about 5 seconds is what it does.
Yeah.
And then nothing's 100% either. So you do want to give the police officers another option, less than lethal option. Firearms, we have some batons, pepper spray. We kind of got away from that. So, that's how come we went with the tasers. And I actually think there's going to be more options as we move forward, as technology continues to improve. But so we did look into it, got some pricing back from the company. So, we're going to go ahead and, think about it, talk about it a little bit, and, we'll see where it goes. It's not budgeted in right now. So if we really want to go ahead and move on this, I would recommend to wait till next year. And then, you're talking about almost 8 years with these. So, we'd be better off waiting for another couple of years. Which is something we want to integrate. Now it's, it's always a balancing act. Any more comments on that? Okay. Number 3, this is just information only, really. So we have a one speed monitoring device, not a radar unit, but just to serve as a deterrent for speeding vehicles and whatnot. You may have noticed over the weekend we had on River Road. We had a River Road South. We had northbound by Sherman Road for about a week and a half. We get a lot of good comments about that, and we have another one on order, same exact one. That was budgeted in, and they're a little bit behind, but we should have that by the end of May. So our goal with this is to use one on the main arteries, the Mayfield Road, River Road, Brigham Road, Wilson Mills, the main roads. And then we're really going to try to use the other one on side streets. We get a lot of, we're gonna have a schedule. You get calls all the time, but it's hard to hit, the sugar bushes of the woods. Not a lot of traffic, but still we don't want to ignore those areas either. Sometimes our residents can be violators themselves. We've seen that down here. So we're going to try to move them around and keep one on the main arteries and then move to the side streets with the other. So that should be happening here soon.
Greg, it sounds like we need to put one on Deerfield.
Yeah, right. We could do that. Okay, and then
I need a unit. I don't need that. I need a unit in my driveway on Saturday afternoon.
and number 4, Larry had asked me to comment on this. Larry mentioned, and he's right. So going back to in the past 12 months, and they've been, we got hit pretty good there. We had a couple of consecutive ones, burglaries, and then we had a little bit of a reprieve, and then pick back up again. So I think we've had, without looking up, my notes, I don't have the reports in front of me. I think we had 5 in the past 12 months. I think everybody's familiar with at least 1, maybe 2 or 3. We're not sure yet, with this crime ring that took place, Chilean crime ring, and Mike Pinto with the FBI helped us out a lot with this. Still going on, so I can speak to burglary in general, but we've done a lot. In all of our burglaries, every single one of them, the resident has not been home. So that's a little interesting to us. We do a lot of follow-up investigation with this with neighboring communities who have seen this as well. Pepper Pike, Moreland Hills, Mayfield Heights to a lesser degree, I think. And then all around the area, though, I mean, we're not immune from crime. It happens from time to time. I think when you think about it, it kind of does make sense. I mean, pretty solid area and some well-off residents, and that's where they come. They come out here because they know there's expensive items, and so we do see that from time to time. Nothing new. It's always happened from time to time. So we just got hit pretty good there for probably for about 10 months there. So these cases are under active investigation right now, so I can't specifically go into the details. But so what were we doing about this? Well, we mentioned the flock cameras, the license plate readers. And by the way, that wasn't knee-jerk reaction. We had these ordered back in September, and it just so happened that things were happening after. So that was kind of ironic. I wish they had been up sooner, but you only do what you can do. But we've done a lot of neighborhood meetings. We've had some safety seminars, Zoom safety seminars. We had block meetings, if you will, with residents in the area where some of this crime took place. We're going to go ahead and continue to do that. We have a certified crime prevention officer now, didn't always have that. So she's taking the lead with a lot of this. So Jessica Newsom, that is, Officer Jessica Newsom. So she will continue to do that. So we're going to be doing these sorts of things here. Hopefully when the weather breaks, we'd like to do them in person too. Maybe even outside, get to know people, and this way they can know their neighbors and whatnot. So that's kind of on the agenda coming up here. We also, during this, we changed our we changed our personnel around a little bit. We brought in some auxiliary officers to add as like an extra set of eyes for us. We reached out to certain residents that were out of town, and in some cases, if they were in town, we would go ahead and work extra hours, and we'd be in their driveways, kind of keep an eye on things. We did that quite a bit during the time of these burglaries. There's patterns. We looked at patterns. We kind of had specific times when they were taking place. We did ignore that. So we wanted to go ahead and deploy our resources based on what our information is telling us. So we did a lot of that. And, once again, we didn't catch anybody, but things haven't happened yet since. So we're in good shape there, I think. Parking some police vehicles. We have, a couple from time to time. We have extra crews in the back of the station. We'll go park those out on the main roads or on the side streets. What we have found is, especially at night, they don't know if the vehicle's manned or not. All they see is a police car. So they're driving down these side streets. You got a car backed in. Again, hopefully it'll shoo people away. They can go somewhere else. So we've done that. So that's kind of a nice little strategy we picked up too. And I mentioned the extra manpower, where we could. We brought extra people in, especially when things were really active for us. So there were times we had up to, 4 or 5 cars on the road, including the auxiliary officers. So we didn't ignore things, but, we're periodically doing that now. We're not doing it as much as we did, but we're really hammering those side streets right now. You may have noticed we're driving around. We always hit our side streets, but really, really, especially because of this, we're really trying to pay extra close attention to where our side streets are, where the crime has been. We want residents to know that we're out there.
So I think that's a great rundown of what's been happening and what you've done. I think that shows a lot of preventative measures, which I think seem to be working. And I think our department's done a great job. And you, Greg, for getting that organized.
Well, everybody's, picked it up. I mean, it makes me feel good. Actually, we actually had several calls like in the middle of the night, and it's our officers lighting up the area. So we have like special alley lights on these cars, a couple of newer cars, and they're so bright. As we all know, it's dark down here, right? And I believe that's part of the reason why sometimes we'll see crime in the middle, because it is dark. I mean, somebody could duck behind a tree, real easy, right? I mean, it's just, we're not alone. Other communities are like that as well. But, it's very dark down here. So we're trying to really illuminate the area when we're hitting these side streets. And, as a result, sometimes they shine into people's bedrooms and they'll call, hey, you're a light in my bedroom. It's not our goal, but, we do get some calls on that from time to time. So.
Greg, you also, before we get on to the fire department, do you want to also mention how you're trying to get residents that have cameras to help out by registering them with you?
Yes, thank you for the reminder, Larry. So so Officer Newsom is really taking this project on. One of the things that she picked up in her crime prevention class is, to reach out to the residents, and, we're going to start what we have. We have like an internal camera database. A lot of residents have Ring cameras now, private security cameras. So we want to know if a resident would offer that information to us. Because when we do have something, we always do an area canvas, but it takes longer, right? I mean, instead of going door to door to door to door, which we still may do, we want to go ahead and, say, Karen, something happened right around the corner from you. Okay, well, no, we'll go around everybody in that area, but if we knew that, you had a camera that may be beneficial, we would start there. Because, many times, something happens and they go in spurts. It could happen the next day. So we want to get people out there. We want to concentrate in a particular area. So we've really been pushing that. I've commented on that in my ping sheet. I've written about it. We've sent some notifications out to the residents. And it's a database, so it's going to take time. But the residents are pretty, they're on board with it. They're on board with it. And, there's no, I don't see any real privacy issues, but it's voluntary. It's a voluntary program. If residents want to let us know that their property's being monitored, we would like to have that information. And only officers can access that. Not the footage itself, but just letting us know if there's cameras at your property.
I'm so appreciative of everything that you've done. And it seems to me there's two things that people can't hear too often because it's almost free. Well, registering that you're away out of town, that is free. And when we were away this winter, I'm really careful about not ordering packages when I'm away and diverting them and everything. But something snuck through and I got an email that an officer had picked it up because on his routine of checking, they come up the driveway and they saw, and that I could pick it up at the town hall when I got home. You guys, the package was like this big. I don't think that somebody wanting to commit a crime would have noticed it, but I was so appreciative. And so we can't tell people too often about that. And you guys are on it. And then just turn your lights on. I make a joke all the time when we come home that nobody is going to rob this house because I've got it lit up I don't know what it does to the electric bill, but it looks like we have a party and there's nobody home. So I think just reminding people to do that. And if our neighborhoods were all lit up, you're right, go somewhere else.
Well, I agree with you. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words there. But, really, the department, we're a team. Everybody helps out, everybody pitches in. The officers primarily rotate shifts. So, and we like that because you're really a different police officer on nights than you are during the day. If you're always on nights and the community doesn't know who the officers are, right? And vice versa. So, and that's important for a small department, especially in our community. We want our residents and the community to know who our officers are. So that's why we do that. So, really, I got a great staff, and and I think everybody knows here, you're only as good as your staff. So it's not rocket science. So, but I appreciate that, and I agree with you on a lot of what you just said there. People just lock the doors, keep your lights on. It's, I kind of joke around sometimes. I always want to do a little personal case study. I always say, what if I walked on River Road from the station down to Mayfield, how many unlocked doors I would find? You know what I mean? Because I believe that does happen. There's a sense of security. And I think that's because people feel safe down here. And, and I understand that. I do. But, I'm sure it probably happens more than it should. But I also know you have to live your life. And I'm not trying to, so.
All right. Well, thank you, Greg, for that rundown and for the review. I will hear from our fire department chief, Tom Robinson. Take it away.
Thanks, Larry. I guess first thing I'd like to say is when Greg moves off camera a little bit, thank him for highlighting that smoke detector on his ceiling right there. Making sure that, everyone is, oh no, we could see it great, Greg. I appreciate the, the shout out to the fire department. So thanks for having that. Fire department, I had about 6 things that I just wanted to quickly touch base on. If you have your agenda, you can just follow along. One is we have had to, actually both police department and fire department have had to replace our portable radios and our, in some cases, mobile radios. They reached the end of life. They're not supported anymore by the manufacturer, which is Motorola. These are very expensive radios. All of them were purchased years ago with grant funding. There is no more grant funding for the radios, so this time we had to pay for them all. The fire department has just completed the purchase of all the radios to replace the ones in the current fleet. Most of them are right now out for programming. So some of the costs of programming were covered and some weren't. But bottom line is we spent in the fire department about $78,000 replacing the radio equipment. And everything we have today, the old stuff still works. It's just you can't get it fixed anymore. Each of these radios is basically a computer. And if something goes wrong with the software, there's no fixing them. Great for Motorola, not so great for budgets. But we have taken that step, so we still have about a year more time before they're completely phased out, and then they'll no longer even work once that happens. So we worked on that. That was a 2-year project to try and handle that much funding. Second thing was we're working more closely with our neighboring fire departments in developing what are called EOPs or SOPs, emergency operation policies. So we have put into place in what's called the Hillcrest Heights Fire Department 4 policies that are going to be regional, they're area wide. So when we have a policy on how we do something, how we run an operation, in the past that has been specific to that fire department, and another fire department may do things a little differently. But there are certain policies that we all need to have in place that are the same. So there's 4 different ones that we put into effect in early April of this year. It went through about a year and a half of development to get these policies so that we all agreed upon them. And there's a little bit of disagreement, maybe not disagreement. 1 or 2 fire departments in the area have not adopted them yet, but we look forward to that happening because it's safer for all of us. I don't know if I should ask for any questions as I go from topic to topic, or just shout them out. Hey, what are you talking about? If I say EOPs and not tell you what it is. Next thing I have is with COVID and what took place last year, we did find that we somewhat, I hate to say struggled with our training program, but it definitely was affected. All fire departments and, everyone was affected by this. And the fact that we stopped our in-house training for a couple of months, we did switch to Zoom and we started doing Zoom trainings. And then the other thing that we did was we actually contracted with a company to provide us online training to give us a little bit more diverse instructor base, if you will. We have 3 certified fire instructors in Gates Mills, on the fire department. And, 2 of them, myself and Tom Majeski, have been around for over 2.5 decades. I'm sure everyone gets tired of the same teacher, especially after 25 years. So we have brought up one of our younger lieutenants, and he is now a certified instructor. This actually gives us the ability to review classes with the 3 training officers. Will all review the classes and then assign them out. So it's really just an additional way to get training out to the membership. We did struggle last year. We have As every fire department, you have required continuing education hours. And last year we had a couple challenges. In the past, we've never had an issue with someone not getting their required minimum amount. Usually we're at double, if not triple, of the state mandated minimum. So this is going to help us with that, where we can actually assign training for people to do at home, and they'll get credit for that training. Next thing is NIFERS, which is National Fire Incident Reporting System. For the last 25 years, we've been using a system called Firehouse software to report our calls to the state and to the national system. And that has, the last few years, has gotten more and more cumbersome, and they have not been willing to adjust their software. So they keep throwing more and more work on the end user, the person that has to file all the reports. So I decided to make a change from Firehouse to a company called Emergency Reporting. And the good thing is that you can generate so much more information and reports out of this system. The bad news is I have to redo all the runs for the year into the new system. So it'll be a little bit more desk time for me, but at the end of the day, it's actually going to be a big improvement on that. Recent fires, we had a house fire at the end of March, pretty significant fire. It started in the three and a half car attached garage. The crews from Gates Mills arrived very quickly. Tactically, they did everything perfect. They were able to hold the fire from getting into the house. You know, part of that was that it was a monitored system, so the people weren't home, but it did set off an alarm, which then, of course, we were notified, and we were able to respond, you know, immediately once we received that alarm. So, you know, the quicker we get there, the less damage there's going to be. But still, we were looking at a house that the couple just purchased at the beginning of this year and had only moved into 4 nights when the fire started. And this was a $840,000 home, which the garage was significantly damaged because of the fire, but the house itself was not. And that was really kind of like Greg said, you know, we got great teams here. We have great crews here. And it's really a testament to those firefighters and to the training program. We did have a field fire in the metro parks that was in the newspaper, in the Chagrin Valley Times. And it was suspicious because the fire started in 3 different locations. And one of the locations was on the other side of a fire break that was already put in place just to stop the spread of fire. So, you know, I know the metro parks, the police there are going to be keeping an extra watch on that area. Coincidentally, that is an area that is scheduled for a prescribed burn. So we didn't extend a lot of personnel, and we didn't call mutual aid in because the area is scheduled to have a burn take place. It probably took care of about 50% of what they need to burn this year. But again, the crews did an outstanding job keeping that from getting into the woods themselves. And the last thing on my agenda was the Rescue Task Force training. RTF training this is the groups that we send in to active shooter incidents that are made up of both police and fire, and they're to go in and under the protection of the police officers, they go in and start treatment on individuals that are wounded. This was a big initiative. The county was taking this on as more of a regional concept. And we had gotten to the point where we're just about to roll it out to the different police departments and fire departments. And then COVID hit. So that basically stopped all training, in-person training. That is scheduled to begin again in the next couple of months. So what will happen is each police department and each fire department in Cuyahoga County will send 3 officers, 3 police officers, 3 firefighters. They will be trained. It's a 3-day class, 3 8-hour days. And then it'll be, they'll come back and do the rest of the department. Because to try and get every single police officer, every single firefighter throughout Cuyahoga County, it's just impossible for them to do. So it'll be what's called a train the trainer program. And that would conclude what I had on my agenda. If there are no questions.
Did you want to comment on how great the new fire truck worked on that?
The fire truck
driveway?
worked great. You know, we have very different challenges here in Gates Mills, and we specifically order fire trucks that are different than anyone else around us. We have extraordinarily long driveways. We have driveways that have tree covers. One of my greatest assets is the rubbish pickup program. And that is because that truck that comes down your driveway prunes the trees for me. Okay. Any of the surrounding communities, fire trucks are much taller than ours and therefore would hit limbs and branches. So, you know, not only the design of the truck and the functionality that it had has done wonders at the last few fires we've had, but the actual size of it and its ability to go down long driveways with real sharp turns has made the difference. You know, if we have to stop that fire truck 1,000 feet away from your house and try and pull hose lines, and then every other piece of equipment, the house is going to suffer greatly for that. You know, so it was. Thanks for bringing that up, Larry. That was a great investment for the village, and I'm sure the residents on West Hill feel it was a great investment too.
Sure, that. Thank you. So I think our last presenter is David. Dave Biggert's going to be talking about the safety upgrades on Mayfield River.
Thank you, Doctor. For those that have driven through, obviously they've seen the construction for that intersection has started. That was a safety grant we received through the state of Ohio. It's a 90% funded by the state, 10% by us. Basically, there's a couple components to it. We'll have new LED light signals through the intersection that'll be mounted on the typical poles. We see steel poles with the mast arms hanging out. So we'll get rid of a couple of the telephone poles and the wires that are currently holding up the signals. As far as it's related to safety, there's 2 pieces of equipment that will be in this. It's a huge milestone for us. One is for the emergency vehicles, both police and fire, we'll have what's called an Opticom system. People who've probably been in other cities and have an emergency vehicle come through will see. And basically what it is, there's a strobe that's mounted on top of the fire trucks and police trucks. And as that vehicle's approaching in an intersection, it will change the light to green for the emergency vehicles and red for everybody else. So, you know, given some of the incidents we've had at that intersection, that's a tremendous help for us. The other big thing that will be, and I apologize, I forget the name of the system, but there'll be sensors in the road surface. And, you know, we've had a couple incidents where trucks haven't been able to stop, so they come flying through the intersection. And unfortunately, it's caused a couple serious accidents. The other system that will be installed is there's some sensors in the road pavement surface. And if it'll read a vehicle speed as it's coming to the intersection, and if it notices that the vehicle's not slowing down, whether it's a truck or a car, what it'll do, as opposed to going through its cycle in red and that vehicle going through a red light, it'll hold the yellow until that vehicle gets clear of the intersection, and then it'll go through its cycling process and turn it to red. Again, this is a tremendous system and huge for safety to help try and prevent some of those incidents we've had. The project is expected to be completed sometime in October, so it's going to be around for a little while. The other thing that we're doing is, if you notice, anybody who takes a left turn off of Mayfield Road, the turning lanes are kind of offset, and it makes it very confusing if you're trying to turn. Do you turn in front of the vehicle who's turning, or do you go behind them? So we're going to realign those turning lanes that they're on center of each other so that you'll always pass on the passenger side of the vehicle. Again, this was a grant we received through the state of Ohio safety grant. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have. That's all I got.
Great, thank you, Dave. Well, if there are no further questions, we'll ask Tom, was anyone viewing on YouTube?
I've got a question. We have a second.
Okay.
Who was wondering if the village could set up an inoculation day or a couple days through the auspices of one of these drugstores or Giant Eagle, that we could do vaccinations in the village for those who would like to take advantage of it. I know my daughter got hers at Giant Eagle, and I guess there's quite a bit of vaccination equipment or stuff available, and I'm sure there's a lot of villagers who would like to comfort a home to have this done.
Well, I suppose I could speak to that. We've been involved with the other area fire departments in staffing inoculation centers. Some of our personnel have gone in and have been vaccinators. It seems like there's been a drop off in those sites. Matter of fact, yesterday, there was one scheduled at Mayfield High School, another one. They've had previous ones, and they canceled it because the turnout has not been really good. There's also been a at-home service that Discount Drug Mart has come down here to residents' homes that are homebound and actually come to the home and provided that vaccination right there. Initially, they were going to be doing the Johnson & Johnson because they felt it would be a lot easier, one shot, one visit only. But then when that got pulled, they went ahead and switched over. And I can't remember if they went with Moderna or which one, but it was then a 2-shot. But we did look at our residents that we kind of know that are homebound, to check with them to see if they might be interested. So we do have a couple things in place that our residents can partake in that and actually have them come right to your home.
I was thinking of something on a smaller scale where we could get, Giant Eagle or Drug Mart or somebody just to come in for a day or two and offer the service. I mean, as you say, if we don't get the run on it, that's another story. But my guess is we'll probably pick up a lot of people. I know a lot of people have asked me for it because they just don't want to get out there in the public. They're afraid right now, and they feel the security at Gates Mills. So I was wondering if we could take an investigation of that and see, number one, if we can get somebody to come in and do it for a couple of days. And I've been in a couple of these nursing homes, and I see CVS sitting in there, and they're inoculating everybody. Just offer it at the community building. See if we get any takers. Nobody signs up, and we don't do it.
We definitely kind of investigate that and see if there's possibility. I think that the issue will be, are there enough people to warrant someone coming in and doing that?
No, I agree. But I have a feeling we're going to get quite a few people who would like to be involved with that. I know we did this with flu shots, and it's highly successful.
All right, any other comments or questions?
Ambulance, we're starting to really accumulate a lot of bills, and I was wondering if we want to start to investigate doing something with Hunting Valley on an ambulance for Gates Mills.
I think Hunting Valley, doesn't Hunting Valley, Tom, work with Chagrin?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yes.
I understand if they would like to, I've been talking for coming in with us on it, and possibly doing a building between the two locations. And there's been an awful lot of interest, and people keep throwing water on it. But I think we're paying a fortune right now for ambulance service, and I know they are too. So it might be worth another look.
Well, I think we've researched that a lot. I know I have. And while I'm unhappy with the per call cost that we have for EMS, it's still much cheaper
I've seen
than
some.
any other and we have looked at this, Ed, for years.
I know, and I did it. I did a study, and I found that we could very easily pay for it. Now there's a lot of money available from the state and federal, and I know your numbers, Tom. I saw them, and you're going to pay people $30 an hour. I mean, that's just above the industry right now.
Oh, Ed, that's
I
incorrect
wish I could make
information.
that being a paramedic. It's just not there, and I think we could do this, either franchise it through somebody like physicians or something, or do our own. But I think it's really worth looking at right now. We're not getting the service out of Mayfield Village that we'd like to, and they're busy, and I know they try, but I think if we could have our own little situation, it would be a lot better. I think it's worth looking at. I'd like to be a part of it.
Well, I think we have looked at it, Ed, but I think if you want to, work out your own numbers and bring them to us again, I think we'd be willing to take a look at it. But I know Tom and Karen has spent a lot of time, investigating that. And
Well, do you mind if I contact Hunting Valley then and see what if anybody raises the flag?
Tom,
I'm not
Okay,
sure if
Tom
maybe
has-
we should ask the mayor to do that, to talk with their mayor.
yeah, well, we can definitely. I'll bring
But
it
we
up.
just did this a few months ago,
Yeah.
so I
Tom,
don't
is
think
it,
that their position has changed in a few months.
Well,
Tom, what was the, I
I'm
was
getting
gonna ask,
feedback from you. I think it's worth a shot. If we fail, we fail. But with what we're paying now, we might as well get a little better service.
I think, Ed, first you may want to talk to the mayor, because I know she spent a lot of time talking to other communities and looking for other opportunities, and there weren't any that were better than what we had. But I'm sure she'd be willing to talk to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to her.
But, all right.
I
Great.
just don't want to contact Hunting Valley and raise a lot of
Well, I think
on my own.
Tom has a good point. You should talk to Karen before you, contact their mayor. Might
Okay.
be a better mayor to mayor kind of thing.
Okay.
I know the contract was just renewed here. Is that a 3-year contract, Tom, was it, or is it 3 years?
Yes, it was a 3-year contract with 2 optional years.
But we had cancellation.
Pardon me?
We had cancellation.
We have a 12-month out clause for either party.
I mean, it would take that long to get things going anyway. So.
That's why it's 12 months. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Well, thank everyone I want to thank you all for coming to the meeting tonight virtually. Maybe next meeting will be in person. Appreciate all your help on the committee, and to our department heads, doing a great job. Thanks. And
Thank
good night.
you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.